now we're going to talk about the in-home care experience. When my mother was released to come to our house, she arrived here in an ambulance. This was her 7th ambulance ride, and thankfully her last ambulance ride during this almost 3-month journey. As they brought my mother up the stairs to what had been the guest room but was now going to become her final destination, she looked around herself with a sense of wonder and said, "Oh, is this my room now?" And the fact that she was so happy to be here and so happy to be away from the hospice, that let me know immediately that I was doing the right thing. However, I still had no clue how to care for her. So I learned how to empty catheter bags, and I learned how to use other equipment, and I learned how to administer pain medication. Because as I said earlier, if the patient is in a great deal of pain, they can't focus on anything else. One of the things I learned through my research about what the dying need, they need time to be able to go through some internal work. And sometimes that work is, reconciling with other people or reconciling with themselves, with their God, but they need to have a safe space. And so part of bringing someone home to die is you need to give them a safe space. So when I brought my mother home, this room looked a lot different, and it was whimsical and inspiring, and hopefully she found great peace in it, because there was a picture right behind her, or actually behind me, that allowed her to escape occasionally. It was a pastel landscape. And so I think that she found moments of joy. What I could figure out how to do was to do some of the things I knew she liked. So I played music for her. So if you're going to be bringing someone home to die, you're going to have to face the same challenges I did. And after my mother died, I realized that some of the challenges that one would face would be similar to the challenges that actually a business could face in trying to achieve a goal. My goal was to provide my mother with the very best dying experience I knew how to. And that would be your goal as well. So because I have a business background, I was able to use what's called a balanced scorecard as a tool to be able to organize what a person might need in order to be able to accomplish this in any degree of proficiency, in any way to achieve some sort of optimal end-of-life experience. And I want to show you this list that I developed in my dissertation. So a balanced scorecard normally has 4 different categories. I actually modified this to be finances, and then the caregiver, the care receiver, or the dying person, and learning and growing. And I found that in all areas, there was so much to learn. So just to talk about a few of them. From the finance side, you'll need to understand how you can afford to have someone stay in your home, and you might need another room. You might need to quit working. I needed to quit working for a while to care for my mother. You might need additional funds for transportation, or to pay for anything that the dying person's insurance doesn't pay. Or if they don't have insurance, you might have to pay for more of a share of what they need to procure. For the caregiver, you have to understand the amount of information you need to learn. You need to learn what a dying person goes through. I actually studied the stages of dying. You have to learn the signs to look for. You have to learn how to care for someone, how to administer medication, how to bathe and turn someone, and how to almost be everything to that person. A spiritual advisor, a financial advisor, and a physiological support person, a nurse, a therapist. There's so much you need to learn. So within all those things you need to learn, you also have to consider self-care for yourself. How are you going to achieve any degree of work-life balance during this time in your life when you're everything to this person? For the person who's dying, you need to figure out what it is they need to die in an optimal way. Do they have any reconciliation that needs to happen with siblings or children or friends? Do you need to just be there and listen to them? Do they need to share their stories? Do they need to ask forgiveness? Do they need to hear that you've forgiven them? There's so many components, but you need to understand what the caregiver needs and what the care receiver needs. And finally, in the learn and grow section, you need to learn whether or not there are any agencies that can support you. Are there any, if you're working with hospice, can they just come in and see you? Can you get affiliated with any religious groups? Are there any social networks that you can work with? What can you learn in terms of even making the experience better, even in terms of modifying equipment? There's a whole lot to learn. But even though it was such a challenging moment, it was the biggest privilege of my life. I truly believe that my mother died in a manner in which was good for her. I can't tell you how good that felt, to be able to care for someone at that level, to allow them to leave this planet with their dignity intact and knowing that they were loved. So in-home care requires a lot of work, and the majority of people that I interviewed that had offered in-home care to their dying, they also then experienced some enormously significant healthcare challenges themselves. One developed cancer, one needed open heart surgery, one lost all of her hair. To be able to take care of someone who's dying just requires so much energy and effort that one of the best things I can tell you to do amidst all these challenges is make sure that you have a plan. Knowing the challenges is the first step, then planning the resources comes next. And in order to do this, you need to figure out who can help you. There are people that are afraid to help, people that are too busy to help, people that don't even want to help for an hour, much less 9 days or 90 days. So in addition to knowing all of these requirements on your part, I wanted to make sure that you understood what your family's role in all this may be. If you set expectations early, if you talk about this early, you'll be able to together assign roles for people, because we can't do this on our own. My research has shown that if people try to do it on their own, they get sick in the process. And helping someone die, to be honest with you, is traumatizing. We're not used to it. It's way outside our comfort zone. So please make sure that you have not only the knowledge of what will be expected of you, but then the ability to set expectations and then the support you need. If you do this at home, you're not left alone by professionals. You will be able to have professionals help you. I had someone from the hospice come and bathe my mother every other day. So you'll have some help. But if you choose to do this on your own, please make sure you're ready for it. And again, it was the biggest privilege of my life. I wouldn't have missed that experience if you offered me $1 million. It was worth every moment. So I hope that you're brave enough to try, and also smart enough to understand what you're up against, and then courageous enough to ask for help. Thanks.